The question is, what if the mother and father are not on the same page in terms of parenting? One of the parents wants to be more disciplinarian. The other wants to say, okay, don't be so tough on them. This isn't the army. How should they deal with that if they're not on the same page in terms of the way they want to parent? Rabbi Ribacoff.
Tough question. I one time had a couple that their wife calls me, Rabbi, what should I do? They just had a newborn baby. It's winter time. And the husband says, I want the kid to go outside without any clothes. And the wife's like, why? Because he has to be tough. He has to get used to the weather. He has to get used to it. True story. He has to, you got to get tough. You got to get, they want to treat him when they're young already. And the wife is like, it's a little baby. It's going to get sick. It's going to get cold. How can you do that? It's going to happen plenty of times, as Rabbi Kigel mentioned, when it comes to discipline, for example. Everyone has different shita, different way of how they want to discipline the child. And a lot of times it's based on what they saw in their own family, the way their parents disciplined them, the way they want to discipline their own children. It worked on them. I'm going to do it on my children as well. But as we see today, it's a different generation. Things are not the same what it was 25 years ago, 50 years ago. And you can't be closed-minded in how you approach certain areas when it comes to marriage or even parenting. You have to be open-minded to understand that there's different ways of disciplining a child. It's not only just hitting the child or screaming at them and sending them to the room, and that's the way they're going to take care of the problem. Because, again, it might have worked on you, but if you think about it, if you ask yourself the question, did you like it when your father screamed at you? Did you like it when your parents hit you? Did you like it when they locked you up in the room? And most of the time they'll say no. It doesn't really work. It's a scare tactic. It might work when the child is young because you're bigger than them, stronger than them. But even the Torah tells us that it comes to a certain age in a child's life that you can't even hit the child because he might hit you back, God forbid. And that's a problem. So we have to be open-minded to understanding there are other ways and how to discipline a child. There are other ways of how to parent a child. There are other ways of how to raise a child. And if you don't reach out to those professionals that are out there and open yourself up to, there's books that are on the subject, there are lectures on the workshops on the subject, and to understand there's not just one way to skin a cat, as they say. There are many ways to deal with the issue, and the couple has to understand it that I tell them all the time, if you can work it out together, that's great. Compromise, discussing things, and understanding how to deal with it, that's the best way to deal with everything. But if you come to a situation where he says black and you say white, what are you going to do? There's no gray in between. Then you need to have a neutral third party, whether it's the rabbi, the rebbitzin, the marriage counselor, the therapist, who's going to come in and explain to you and teach you the way of how to deal with the situation. Because otherwise, you're going to want it your way and his way, and you're going to end up being frustrated all the time because why is the kid getting candy all the time? Why is the kid doing all these things? Why is the kid walking all over me all the time? Because you're not implementing the right ways of how to deal with situations. So if you're open-minded to understanding, there are many ways, there are a lot of techniques that are out there, and you'll see every kid is different. You're going to see it might have worked with this child, doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work with the next child that comes down the road. So you have to be open-minded to understand that every child is different, every child has different temperaments, every child has different sensitivities, different ways of dealing with things, and if you don't work with the times and be flexible on how to deal with it, you're going to have problems as well.